And in the end, it was a verdict that many of you at home who watched this trial and followed this case disagreed with. Well, Court TV correspondent Chanley Painter has an update on the story and spoke with Henry Segura's fiancee, who is speaking out exclusively to Court TV for the very first time.
The wrong person is behind bars.
LaToya Mitchell was convinced her fiancé of 4 years would be coming home.
I couldn't believe that that's what they came up with.
Henry Segura stood trial twice, accused of the gruesome slayings of his son, his ex-girlfriend, and her children in November 2010. But Mitchell's devotion to her high school sweetheart never wavered.
In disbelief. This was injustice served on a platter. He is innocent, and the jury got it wrong. The prosecution had nothing. The state had nothing.
In fact, she remains convinced of Segura's innocence, even though a jury convicted him in November 2019 of murdering Brandy Peters, their 3-year-old son Javante, and Peters' 6-year-old twins, Tamaya and Tanaya.
What the evidence is going to show you is that Henry Segura is responsible for the murders.
Segura's first trial in 2017 ended in a hung jury, splitting 11-1 in favor of not guilty. And his family had high hopes for an acquittal at his retrial in 2019.
I was confident he was coming home because he's innocent. I made him a house key with the word home on it. He was coming home.
But inside the Tallahassee, Florida courtroom, things would be different the second time around. It started with a tactical move by the defense in picking the jury.
We waived the 12-person jury and went down to 6.
Only 6 jurors heard the case, half the usual amount for a death case.
Not only did he lie to law enforcement on those days, but he also was untruthful to you here.
Prosecutors took aim at Segura, portraying him as a heartless killer who massacred a family. That included his son.
So at 6:53, she was alive and using her phone, and after that, she's not.
Yes, the handset's not being utilized.
And during that time period, Mrs. Segura was at her house.
Records are consistent with that, yes.
The defense fired back, claiming investigators missed the boat. Henry Segura was not the killer.
This is the most heinous offense that's been committed in Tallahassee. There isn't any argument against that. The problem is that it wasn't Mr. Segura.
But if not Segura, who? Brandy Peters' home was a scene from a horror movie. 4 bodies, 3 of them children. The defense said this man had the answer.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Carlos Santos is an inmate doing time in a federal prison. Santos testified that he was a leader of the Vice Lords gang and ordered the hit on the family.
At some point, did you end up directing associates of yours to kill Brandy Peters?
Yes, sir, I did.
According to Santos, Peters was killed because she was stealing drugs from a Mexican cartel, and her children were eliminated as witnesses. The alleged proof? DNA from a Colombian drug trafficker found at the crime scene, who Santos said was part of the hit squad.
He has a delusional disorder of grandiose type and is consistent with prominent narcissism and antisocial personality traits.
But Leon County prosecutors dismissed those claims, arguing Segura killed Peters and the children to rid himself of thousands of dollars in back child support.
The total amount of retroactive child support, somewhere close to $22,000 at that point, is what he's going to owe.
Plus, a new DNA interpretation would place Segura at the bloody scene.
I have no reason whatsoever to kill my son or those twins.
Jurors leaned in as the defendant testified. But in one moment,
That's the one moment of the trial we wish we could have back.
A testy exchange with the judge threatened to overshadow his claims of innocence.
She's asking the same question over and over.
Be quiet.
No, she's...
Be quiet. Now,
she
asks you a question. You wait till she finishes.
I'm a grown man.
After 8 days of a hotly contested trial, a stunning verdict.
The jury finds the defendant is guilty of first-degree murder. As to count 2, as to count 3, as to count 4, we, the jury, find the defendant is guilty of first-degree murder.
The lawyer that spent 4 years working for free, convinced his client is innocent, is not ready to give up.
That's not the end of the road for us. We're still working on the appeal.
But the drama was only the beginning.
We tried to invite a death sentence.
Segura appeared to catch even the judge off guard during the penalty phase when he chose not to put on any mitigating evidence.
If they feel I'm guilty, then they should sentence me to death.
Death penalty appellate defendants get access to resources that other defendants have no hope of getting. So we wanted that for him because there were so many issues in this case that I knew were going to be ripe for attack on appeal.
But the jury chose life.
He's not spending the rest of his life in prison. That's not going to happen.
Determined as ever, LaToya is dedicated to her fiancé and making their blended family of 7 work, even with Segura behind bars.
Very thoughtful, very caring. Very smart.
Her love for him still clearly evident. And while wedding plans may be on hold for now, she has this vow.
The work will be done, and it doesn't matter how long it takes, he will come home.
All right, I've got a lot of questions about this in many different directions. Let's bring in Chanley Painter. Chanley, great to see you tonight.
Hey, Vinny.
All right, let's begin with LaToya Mitchell. They have plans to get married. I'm trying to understand this relationship, how it started, because he's been locked up for quite some time, right? And at the time of the murder, he was married to somebody else. The person who he murdered, according to the jury and the evidence, I believe, was his girlfriend. So how does LaToya kind of fit into his timeline of romance here?
Great question, Vinny. Yes, at the time these murders happened in 2010, Segura was quite the ladies' man. That was in front of this jury. He had the burner phone he originally lied about to police that actually tracked him to Brandy Peters' home that night. But as far as LaToya Mitchell and Henry Segura, they met when she was in 6th grade, Vinny. She said that she was at a school Valentine's dance and that Segura asked her to dance. And she says it was, love at first sight. They didn't start dating till later on in high school. He was her high school sweetheart, but she said the basis of their relationships still to this day is their friendship. She says that he is her best friend. They reconnected later on. Actually, it was about a month before he was arrested for this crime. He moved to Minnesota, I believe it was the next year in 2011. About a month before is when they got back together and started to talk about marriage. And he's been incarcerated now all of this time, but she says it's quite a normal relationship. She talks to him every day, and it's much a blended family of his kids and her kids. And she won't accept anything less but that he is coming home one day.
Let's take a listen to a little bit of what she was talking about, that blended family and the way things are going.
So we're not yet married, but I don't believe in stepchildren. So if someone asks me if I have children, I say yes. They say how many? I say 7. I don't differentiate from my biological children and his, neither does he. He has a very good relationship with my son, our son, so much so that he took the steps, our son took the steps to change his last name. He graduates this year and he wanted to walk across the stage and have his diploma read with the Segura name. Henry had plans on adopting him, which of course has not happened.
This is amazing. I mean, she believes 1,000% they've got a future. So what are they doing about it? I mean, yeah, you've got a great attorney. Is that it, or are they doing anything else?
Well, they are planning the appeal. I also spoke with his defense attorney, Nathan Prince, and he says he can't appeal the fact that he's innocent, right? So he has all of these technical grounds, mainly 4 different grounds they are preparing for appeal. The main one, Vinny, that DNA evidence, the controversial DNA that was different from the first trial against Henry Segura to the second trial, where the state brought in McElfresh, the DNA expert, to talk about finding Segura in a mixture on the bath bar above where the children's bodies were found deceased. It was a huge point for the prosecution. They're going to start there and move forward. But to both his attorney, Nathan Prince, and his fiance and family, they are 100% in behind him. They believe he's innocent, and a lot of other people do. They have a lot of support for Henry Segura.
And that's different. That's different than, attorney believing that my client is not guilty, that they didn't have the proof. He believes he's factually innocent in all of this. Okay. Obviously, Chanley, I know you're going to stay on top of this story. Thank you so much.